the garden hose here. I'm going to flip this around. I just wanted to say good morning. Thanks for checking this out. Feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be doing more streams. And man, this camera, there we go. Hey, you can see me without the brightness now. I'm going to flip this around and we're going to start doing some watering. Feel free to ask questions or make comments, what have you. Here's the hose. There's that repair I made yesterday. There's a live stream video for that. And let's get out here and get into the garden area. Right now I'm just pulling the hose out so that I don't run out of garden hose before I'm done. First is our lilac bush. These, I think, traditionally stay less than 4 feet high, but this one got to be about 8 feet, and it's a little too tall to really efficiently collect the flowers off the top of. So started cutting it back. We cut about 30%. We can cut about 30% off of this thing at a time. So you can see I've cut this big one off at one point, got that one off at one point. Still have these to go. But I kind of like the way that they throw some shade on this area right here when the sun is at the brightest part of the day. It's like, I don't know, a gladiola, I think. Maybe a hollyhock. It's done flowering. These are called like royal potato bushes or something. They get these purple flowers on them. I planted them here because they were supposed to get to be about 5 feet tall, and they were supposed to kind of grow up and block that place where the neighbors walk from. But they didn't. This one on the right got a little taller, but they didn't do the job, so that's something for another day that we're still going to get to. Jade plants grow kind of like weeds. There's a fruit cocktail tree. Now, that's a stone fruit tree. It grows apricots, plums, peaches, and nectarines. This plumeria, when we planted it, wasn't doing so hot. It was a single chunk down there, and the tips started getting black with that black tip disease. We managed to salvage it, luckily. That'll get little yellow flowers on it. This is the little vegetable area up front here. These are cantaloupe. Cantaloupe? Cantaloupe? We have cantaloupe growing. That's nice. It's taken a while to get those things growing this year. Welcome, visitor. This is the cantaloupe patch. And you can see a couple of cantaloupe there. And here's a Persian cucumber. There's actually a cucumber getting ready to be picked down there. These cucumbers grow fast. They'll grow in like a day and a half. Look, a watermelon. Yesterday, that watermelon was about 1/10 that size. Other one. See this one? Yesterday, this one was about that size. Those scraggly looking guys in the middle there, that's artichokes. Welcome, visitor. And that's the cantaloupe over there. Carolina Reaper pepper, some Thai basil. Thank you for visiting the vegetable section of the stream. If you have any questions or comments, feel free. I'm just watering. Can you zoom out? No, guess zooming out isn't a thing on YouTube live stream. Here we go out to the front. Some rose bushes. These are like, I don't know, Floribunda roses or something. They get a lot of roses at once growing on them. It won't let me go into landscape mode. If anybody knows how to change it so the iPhone can stream in landscape mode, let me know in the comments, please. This is a sage of some sort. These are volunteers. They just came out of the blue. There's another one. We've cut them way back recently. I think they started with a bird poop, laying some seeds. And then they started multiplying all over the yard. This one here is maybe 5 years old, and I think they're at the end of their life. They started multiplying all over the yard. They were prolific. Almost took over the yard for a year or two, and then they started dying back. Hello, welcome, Spicy. These are Nandina domestica, heavenly bamboo. Actually, there's some variation of that, known as a snowball bush. It's a bamboo that only grows about this large. They're about 2 feet in diameter. These are probably 7 years old now. And there's another Nandina. It's another type of bamboo. These are all non-running bamboos. They don't spread out all over the place. You can see the stalks. It's spread a bit, but they don't take over everything. They only grow about 4 feet high, so I kind of have them set as pillars to the end of the walkway here. You can get some more of the other side of the rose bushes now. Welcome to the stream. Feel free to ask any questions or make comments. Here we have what's called a chicken, hen and chicks. I always want to call it chicken hens. It's hen and chicks. And there's a, back there, there's a, it might be an amaryllis. Some fountain grass. A non-native species. It grows real well. It looks nice, but it can be kind of invasive. They're trying to take this fountain grass off of the trails locally in the area. Don't remember what this is called, but it gets pretty blue flowers, and eventually they'll be about 3 feet tall. It should help fill in this corner of the garden quite nicely. The hen and chicks there in front of them is just a temporary. Those things grow so fast. It's just taking up space. And I'll remove that when these other plants grow a little bit. And that's some Sansevieria or mother-in-law's tongue back there in the end. And up here in front of the bricks. Now, right down here directly in front of me, this is called milkweed. There's another milkweed. This is narrow leaf milkweed. It's a California native. This is the plant that attracts monarch butterflies. I'm looking right now to see if I can see any caterpillars on it. Any of the monarch caterpillars. They were there last week, but I think they may have started to pupate. Anyways, this is the plant that attracts the monarch butterflies. And it's a little early, or I'd be able to show you monarch butterflies flying around right now. It's really weird, but all you need to do is plant this milkweed, and monarch butterflies will start showing up. Across the top, you have the the wisteria. Across the front of the whole property. And that will get these long, pretty, smelly purple flowers. Let's see, what month is it? It's August, September, October, probably in October. That'll burst out in flowers again. You can see the remnants of the old flowers here. See a little bit of the purple. That's the color the flowers are, only they end up as these big dangling things. Pretty amazing. This will all fill in with yellow flowers. They are chrysanthemums. I planted them from seeds, and they were single chrysanthemums, but over the last couple of years, they just keep reseeding themselves, and about half of these turn up as double flowers now. Kind of an interesting twist. More jade plants. I just walked through a spider web. That was nice. That's what they call a lipstick plant. Honeysuckle, I believe. And there's an asparagus fern that needs to be weeded. That guy's old too. It's I've refurbished it a couple of times, and it needs it again. I buy these plants marked down at Home Depot. And these ones here are ready to be planted. These will be replacing some of the sage plants I talked about earlier that are end of life and dying. Here's one right there. You can see how it's kind of the sage is over here, but the stalk goes over there, and it kind of goes into the dirt. And that used to be a giant plant that was very productive. No longer. Here's another one. You can see that the root kind of goes a couple of feet away and digs into the ground. And when I pull those out, it's going to open up a lot of the garden. So I needed to get these other plants to fill the gaps. These ones will end up about 3 or 4 feet tall and about 2-3 feet around. So they'll act as a kind of a privacy screen. And the little flowers, when they show up, they look like little butterflies. So it's pretty. And these are called sweet pea bushes. You can kind of see the flowers look like sweet pea flowers. It's been real hot the last couple of weeks, and I'm having to water these like every day to keep them from wilting away. That's called a lipstick plant right there. There's a far more Latin term for it, I'm sure. That grew pretty big. We planted it from 1-gallon pot last year, and it grew to about 4 foot around, and then it got all spindly, so we cut it back about a month ago, and now it's filling in again. This is a papyrus. Now I'm just watering this stuff to keep it fresh while it's really hot out, but most of this stuff is native plants. Most of this is native plants that I can actually go without watering for most of the year. Oh, Kathy has a question. Does the mother-in-law plant need to be brought in for winter? Well, I'm in Southern California, and we don't really have winter. We get a few. We might dip down to freezing a couple of nights or something, but as a general rule, it doesn't get colder than about 50 degrees. Now, as far as in frozen areas, I believe that it should be brought in. It's a succulent, and they are mostly water, and so I believe it probably should be brought in. Now, here in California, we just plant them in the dirt, and they grow just fine. So, kind of an indirect answer, non-specific, non-exact answer. Well, all I can say is in Southern California, we do not bring them inside. This is called a kangaroo paw. The flowers have wilted and I need to cut them off. This one will, these are all bright yellow when it's flowering. Right now it's kind of in reproductive mode with the green stuff. Here's the lipstick plant on the other side. It gets these flowers. Well, I guess that this camera doesn't zoom in that great, huh? Anyways, it gets these little flowers. You'll see it's getting a couple. And we cut the heck out of that. Here's the other side of the sage. Here's the other sage. You can see they kind of go down to the woody part. That used to be a nice big fluffy thing that stood straight up, but there's another pawpaw. This one is red, although you can't tell, but you can see the kangaroo paw. But you can see that the flowers are actually smaller in size on the red ones versus the yellow ones. You can see these are larger flowers. It's just an anomaly. There's a little alyssum. That alyssum, I don't know. I always think I kill it, but then I give it a little water and it comes right back again. There's a daylily in the corner. It's pretty much finished for the season. So yeah, big tip on these plants. You can see there's another one. I got that one for $2.50. And these plants only last a couple of years. Some of them 3 or 4 years. This African daisy, osteospermum, right here that I'm watering. This is called African daisy. It's used all over. They're also known as freeway daisies because this is all over Southern California on the freeway on ramps and off ramps. In between, on the ground, they'll plant this stuff. And on the sides of the roads, it's pretty tough. It flowers. Its ground cover is known as the freeway daisy. This is a butterfly bush. That one right behind it is another butterfly bush that's called, I think, butterfly candy or something. It's It'll be red colored. It's just getting close to flowering now. Let's see, the bird bath. I get some good action from the local birds. Everything from western bluebirds. The crows bring their food here and dip it in, so it gets pretty gross from that. Yellow goldfinches, um, you know, wrens and finches and swallows. My favorite's the bluebirds, of course. Look, I have a bluebird box hanging in the tree for those. I'm a monitor with the Southern California Bluebird Club. And so I run a string of about 30 boxes in all of the local parks. And every week go out and monitor the bluebird boxes for activity, count the eggs and nests and watch the babies grow. Hi, Kathy. Oh, North Carolina, nice. I have a good friend who moved from Southern California to North Carolina about 3 years ago, and he just moved to Florida, where he could, be closer to his people. And he's real happy, and he's a nice guy. I like the South. Now, yeah, these actually, mother-in-law's tongues or sansevieria or snake plant is a great oxygenator. It's actually a real healthy plant to have around. It was recently, I'm going to say this wrong, but it was recently named as by the scientific plant community as one of the healthiest plants to have around. There's a far more technical way of saying that, but it turns out to have recently been acknowledged as one of the healthiest indoor plants to have. And they're pretty neat because they grow very easily. They propagate very easily. All you need to do is break a chunk off down below the roots and stick it in dirt again. Give it lots of sun and as much water as you feel like. I'm still figuring out this YouTube live streaming. It's hard to tell when people are actually watching or not. Just wanted to get that out there. If you're watching and I don't see you or acknowledge you, I'm not ignoring you. I just don't know how this thing works. Again, there's the wisteria. Chrysanthemums. And let's go into the jungle area. This area is always in the shade. We have this plum tree. It's an ornamental plum tree that we planted. When we planted this plum tree, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, it was about 4 feet tall. So it came up to about here. This thing's grown pretty quickly and it's done exactly what we wanted to do. And that was create a shaded area in this little alcove in front of our house. Oh, thank you, Kathy, for the compliment on the garden. And I've also taken the wisteria and I brought it around on cables all the way around this area. So a couple of times a year, this whole area is flowing down with wisteria flowers. And the rest of the time, it just gives me a nice shady area where ferns, this is stargazers right there. All the flowers. Stargazers had flowers last week out of the blue that I forgot were ever going to be there. Back here, there's some jade plants. They'll grow in full sun or in the shade. They don't care. is a bleeding heart. It's done flowering for the year. This will die back down to just kind of a rootstock chunk, and then it'll come back every year. There's a fuchsia right there that's kind of sad. It's gonna start, there's a flower that's about to start on it, but it's a little sad. We recovered that from, I don't know, someone was throwing it away or something. We're kind of those people that collect the plants people are throwing away. Down here, we got some spider plants, or airplane plants as they're known, on the ground. We're kind of promoting those to keep growing. I don't know, 3 months ago, there was only one little plant in the corner over here. And now, from watering, it's just growing out. More ferns. Another papyrus. And so this is where if I just kind of spray up into get everything wet, no matter how hot it gets during the day, we can sit out here and breathe fresh air in a cool environment. I'll hit on this again. Yesterday, I did a live stream you can find where I repaired this hose. This is one of those expanding hoses. And I put that repair in where the hose was split and leaking pretty badly. And now we're going to... You're welcome for sharing, Kathy. I just like on these expanding hoses to dump the last of the water after I turn off this faucet and put it on the wisteria. This is the base of the wisteria that kind of covers the whole house. You see it going there. It goes along the entire front of the garage as well. And when I'm done emptying this water out on the wisteria, I'm going to walk around back and do the backyard. I wonder if that should be a separate stream. Any input on that? This stream's like half an hour long now, but it seems a little silly to have two separate streams. Ooh, the bird bath needs some water. And that's it. Oh, let's take another look at these cantaloupe. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for a cantaloupe to be ready. Now, we had a watermelon that was about the size of, this is smaller, that was about twice the size. Something ate it the other night. That kind of sucked. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and walk around to the backyard. I'm holding the camera down because I'm kind of trying not to show license plates and addresses and what have you. And another expanding hose with another splice repair job. These hoses tend to last about 2 or 3 years before they need to be replaced or fixed or whatever. Most people just replace them and then they get upset that they don't last very long, and I get that. I can repair them, and I've got videos on how to do the repairs, by the way. You can find them on my channel. Oh, this hose got snagged. Problem with these 100-foot hoses is that like 50 feet of them end up in a weird snag pile like that. Okay, I'm going to slow down with the camera work here in a moment. Again, if you have any questions or comments, feel free. Here we go. So here's a bougainvillea. We had to cut this one way back this year. It was like that entire corner that you can see from there to there was entire bougainvillea. It was just out of control, and it was tough and nasty and painful because they're very sharp. So we cut it way back. There's another Sansevieria. You see we have, see where's more? We have them kind of all over. No, that's aloe vera. That's another thing that grows like crazy. Just kind of watering everything. Back there in the ground is a little Matahia poppy, also known as a fried eggplant. We can't keep those alive. I don't know. They're supposed to grow like weeds in this area. They're native to this area. But for us, they die like weeds. There's more hen and chicks. We recently uprooted this area. We're working on it. And so these are actually, none of them are in the dirt. They're just chunks laying here. And so they're kind of shriveling. But all we need to do is stick any one of those pieces into the dirt. This piece will become that big within a couple of months. Stuff grows like crazy. More aloe vera, jade plant. There's some amaryllis. African daisy. Switch over to jet stream so I can make sure that water gets down, a little bit of water gets down into the heart of the plants. It's just been so hot out. Okay, ready? Thank you, Kathy, for checking in. I'll be doing this regularly. Feel free to subscribe. The more people that subscribe, the more I can stream. There's some kind of a quota system going here with YouTube. I haven't really familiarized myself with the platform too much yet. Here's the tomato plants. These are all, you can see there's a couple of little cherry tomatoes size growing. These are all yellow tomatoes this year. I'm not sure how that happened, but this one had big yellow tomatoes. That one had little cherry yellow tomatoes or orange. And the other one had like Roma style tomatoes, but they were yellow too. That's a flame grape that hasn't quite produced fruit yet this year. This is about the time where I expect the grapes to start showing up. Oh look, it's a rainbow. It's beautiful. It's a rainbow. These raised planters were interesting this year. They didn't produce much, but this one has randomly started the tomato plant in here. And look, we've even got flowers now. Tomato plant and the pepper plant, it's a serrano pepper, I believe, have both suddenly started growing like regular plants. They've been planted here for about 3 months now. Let's see, when did I plant them? Anyways, for about 3 months, and they haven't been growing at all. And suddenly, they're growing like crazy. Creeping Charlie down there. There's a gardenia. That thing had some nice flowers about 3 weeks ago. You see a dead one on the end there, but it produced some nice flowers. Then we had a couple of 100+ degree heat days, and it kind of burned the top of the plant pretty badly. More sansevieria. There's a blackberry bush. Getting ready to produce some blackberries. Ficus benjamina. There's some plumeria. Welcome, guest. Feel free to make comments or ask questions. Here's the plumeria again. There's actually 2 separate plumeria plants, one in that pot and one in the little pot next to it. They kind of blend together into one big bush. Same thing, I hit it with the shower mode first, but I'm gonna hit down into make sure some water gets down into the rooty areas of these different plants. That's some petunias. It was a very colorful pot. It's seen better days. It was a spring pot. It should probably be thrown out, but I'll nurse it along as I can. More sansevieria or snake plant. That's a lime tree over there, that right there. That's called purple something. This is an orchid cactus and or dragon fruit. You can see it's growing. All I need to do is water it and it'll grow. Like this is a new growth. This is popping out new growths on it right now. If you look over here, they look pretty rough at the beginning, but then these new growth areas pop out of them. Get all the growth on this one here. And now I can break these off and plant them and they'll create whole new plants. So this is kind of my nursery for this kind of plant. And I'll show you the mother plant for that one in a moment. Over there is some blue hibiscus in front of the not Joshua trees, yucca plants. That yucca plant was a single 5-gallon pot when I planted it a few years ago. So it's grown a little bit. It's got to be 18 feet tall now, maybe, or something. Just throw a little bit of water under there. That thing can do without any watering at all, of course. And then there's a bougainvillea. You can see a little bit of the bougainvillea flowers right there I'm hitting. It's at the end of its flowering season. Oh, there's some more right there. It kind of covers this area of the wall here when it's growing. That whole section of the wall gets covered with bougainvillea flowers and plants. I don't know why. This is kind of my pride and joy here. It's a chirimoya that I got when it was really tiny, and I planted it right here. And this is about 6 years, and it's growing, and it's finally gotten to where it's about 6.5 feet tall, and it's spreading out. And I might even get some flowers and some fruit this next year. Pretty excited about that. Now this traveler's palm here was about 3 feet tall when I planted it. It's hard to get a gist of the scale, but that's about 20 feet tall now. It has a nice, it's like a bird of paradise type plant. You can see the old ones in there. The birds of paradise on this one aren't orange, they're purple and black. Real dark flowers. The woodpeckers like the flowers on that. The downy woodpeckers come down and suck the juice out. The Schefflera. There's a Hoya. Let's see, does a Hoya have any flowers? It did, but my partner has a tendency to mess with this plant. And that plant doesn't like it, so it drops its flowers. It looks like there's no flowers on it right now. That Hoya gets these big, big umbrals of flowers on it. Oh, there's the donor plant, the big dragon fruit slash cactus orchid plant. You'll see the difference. Some of them have three sections on them, and some of them are flat, but they're all mixed together in this pot. Move back out so you can see it. It's about spreads about 4 or 5 feet across. And when it's hanging up, when this thing flowers, oh man, let's see. There's an old flower hanging off. It gets these big, bright, pink, red flowers on it. And I might have 30 flowers on here at a time. It's pretty nice and impressive. There's that other bleeding heart right there. Who'd ever thought it takes an hour to water a garden, huh? It's surprising how quickly these bird baths will run out of water. Both from the birds using them and from evaporation. Welcome to the stream. I'm just watering the garden. Feel free to ask any questions or make comments. Or just relax and watch the plants. These are hibiscus. They grow like in tropical areas like Hawaii, where it rains every day. So these want to be rained on every day. Now, if you have hibiscus and it gets the little white flies, let's see if I can find any example in here. Here we go. You see that white hairy stuff under there? It's the thing that affects hibiscus and avocados here in Southern California and probably other areas. And we've just done a fresh application. You see the brown stuff down there? That's worm castings. And the worm castings will get rid of the white stuff. We just put the worm castings down a few days ago, and most of the white stuff is gone from these bushes already. I just had to look to find that one example, and I will be pulling that off. There it is, that one example. And let's see if I can get the fly. There's one. These little white flies fly around. I don't know. It's hard to see them when it's wet. But worm castings gets rid of the white flies on the hibiscus. Secret insider tip. This right here, this is a clementine tangerine. Oh, really an Algerian tangerine. You can see there's a tangerine there. There's another one right there. Algerian tangerine or clementine tangerine. Man, the fruit is good off of that. Nice, seedless, beautiful little tangerines. Every now and then it cross-pollinates with the orange tree over there, and we get a couple of seeds. These ferns get full sun, but somehow they stay alive. I guess it's because I water them every day, huh? This whole thing to here is about 4 feet. We're nearing the end of our watering extravaganza here. There's some irises that just keep coming back, even though they're growing kind of in the extra stuff pile. It's kind of the gardening graveyard. And this ground underneath the lemon tree, this lemon tree is pretty prolific. This ground under the lemon tree is so hard and awful, and all of a sudden these spider plants started growing. One of them, I caught one little plant growing way back there, and I started watering and every day, and I've got it to now where they've covered about maybe 50% of this patch of ground area here. Another month, and probably the whole ground area here will be covered with these spider plants, which is good. The soil's really hard and dry, and the plants will help to break up the soil. Ooh, there's a lizard. That lizard has a really long tail. It's not a lizard. It's one of those snake things. I mean, a worm. Like, what do you call these things? Oh, well. I'll have to look back at the video and see if I can see that thing. That thing was like a really long lizard with really little feet. And that's it. Thank you, everybody, for checking out the stream. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll bring you some more.